you very much. It's really great to be here. When Renata called me, I couldn't say no to standing here. I love moving water, rivers, and streams, and I love it when communities get together to do great things. There's nothing more powerful, maybe nothing more beautiful, and I think the Charles River Conservancy is an outstanding example of that. I really could not say no. You may not, there's a short introduction there, but you may not, may I digress for a moment, Fred? Is it okay? Thank you. You may not fully appreciate how it feels for me to be standing in this place. I didn't grow up on the Charles. I grew up on the Little Kickapoo in central Illinois on a farm. My family has now been there 7 generations. And down by the Little Kickapoo, at one end of our pasture, was a great sycamore tree, which I just loved as a kid. Maybe you had a place like this. It just seemed magic. The grandeur and size of that tree, right there near the banks of the Kickapoo, and the particular scent of the sycamore, which I've always loved so much. And it was a place where I would go and sort of just feel the magic of living. Then when I was about 16, my parents decided I should come out and see the East Coast. It hadn't been a great year for crops, so to get me out, they called a friend who worked at the dispatch office at the stockyards in Peoria, Illinois, which is about an hour away. And before you know it, I was with my bag up on a truck, semi-trailer truck full of hogs, bound for Philadelphia. This was my magic carpet to Boston. I got off in Philadelphia, dragged my bag across town to the bus station, took it to the bus station here, caught the red line for Harvard Square, and my first glimpse of the Charles River was right off this bridge, crossing on the red line, at which moment I said, oh, Boston has a river. I had no idea. So standing here now with these, all of you august personages all these years later is really kind of an incredible thing for me. I got over to Cambridge, saw a little bit of Harvard, said, where's that river? And they said, it's down this street. I walked down, and you know exactly where I'm talking about with the grove of sycamore trees is by Elliott Bridge, right there, where Harvard comes down to the edge of the river. And I thought, wow, here I am again, by wonderful flowing water with these sycamore trees all around. And I think in that moment, some kind of bonding happened. It means all these, nearly 40 years later now, I'm still here. I think rivers have a way, we know they always move, but they have a kind of incredible way of anchoring people as well. And they anchor best and they anchor deepest when they're well cared for, when they're well loved. And I think with every step the Conservancy has taken in showing that kind of care and love for this river, the anchor grows deeper for people who were born and raised here, but also maybe for people like me, people that Boston needs from all over the world, who come to this city, fall in love with the river as I did, and stay. We've got a tradition in my family with the kids. My wife works at MIT, I live in Newton, and we jump in our kayaks in Newton and paddle down for lunch. I'm due to do that with my daughter one day soon. When my son got married, we had the rehearsal dinner right here on the river. It was fantastic. I have so many memories, changing diapers on the Mass Ave Bridge on the 4th of July at midnight, thinking, how are we going to get home? It's a great, great, great setting, and there's really nobody I'd rather talk about it with than Fred Salvucci. So, Fred, thanks for your kind, liberal attitude toward my digression, and if you'll join me, Mr. Citizen Engineer, Mr. Action Passion, Fred Salvucci. It's great to have you here, Fred. We're all honored. Can we turn the mic on? Is it on? Let's see. No? Mic? Maybe there's a button. Hello? 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 No? Oh, there.
Okay. Okay. Is it working now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great. Fantastic.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. I really appreciate the honor. I guess I have to tell my Renata story.
Please.
I actually merited a 3-cushion bank shot. Renata didn't call me. She had Jerry Pangaro call me and tell me that the luncheon was to honor Henry Lee. And if I didn't say yes, then she was going to call. So, how could I not be here?
Right. Henry's here, you're here, we've all obeyed, we're all in line. My memories don't start until I was 16 of this river. Yours start a lot earlier. Share a couple, Fred.
Well, my earliest memories, good and bad. The pleasant ones, walking with my mother down to Watertown to visit friends. The streetcar cost too much to go from Brighton to Watertown, so my mother marched us down. And it's the first time I had seen a river, and there were boats that were like amazing. The thing is floating.
You must have been 4
or 5 years old,
5?
and it's my earliest memory of the water. The less pleasant piece was I did grow up in Brighton, and the river was dominated by the slaughterhouses, a little bit like the pigs you were chasing when you
I probably
came
brought
east.
them out. Sorry.
So I've loved the river all my life. My father learned to swim there when the place he came from in Italy had essentially no water deeper than 6 inches, and he learned he could swim.
He learned to swim in the Charles River.
By the Cottage Farm Bridge, and which was permitted in those days at Magazine Beach. We've just, I used to cross the river from MIT over the Mass Ave Bridge to meet my wife, Mary Ann, who was working right adjacent to that beautiful connection between the Fens and the river, which has now been ruined with the Boca overpass. But in those years, it was beautiful and open. You know, I took my grandchildren canoeing last spring on it. It's a great part of the city.
We know you are famously a big ideas guy, and I know you've got some big ideas about the river. I want to think about them, but since Catherine has just told us that you just had your 70th birthday, just think about the physical river for a minute and how it's changed since you were 4 years old walking down to the river with your mom, and today, in those years, what big changes would you describe, do you see?
Well, it's gotten better, but I think there's a long way to go. And I think there are threats and opportunities all around us, particularly at this moment. I saw John DeVilliers here earlier. When we were finalizing the environmental impact statement on the Big Dig, one of the challenges was crossing the river. And we had proposed using a cable-stayed bridge, which was a little bit controversial at the time. John, in his certificate, had this wonderful language: the world is not bereft of beautiful bridges. Boston deserves one.
Okay,
And,
catch up.
and then he also called upon the transportation agencies to pay for the areas on both sides of the Charles, which I thought was totally appropriate, those embankments that have gone in. But we're at, and the skateboard park is under the Zachem. So I think some of the ideas that John talked about and sort of merged into the Big Dig are upon us now. One of those was the commitment that the Big Dig wasn't just a road, but it had to be accompanied by significant improvements in public transportation if it was going to work. One of those public transportation improvements that's gotten ignored for a couple of decades now is the extension of the Green Line out to Somerville. And under the leadership of Governor Patrick, that finally looks like it's moving. But in the spirit, people who know me know I can't resist this mic. In the spirit of Henry Lee's calling upon us to hang together so we don't hang separately, I want to urge an alliance with Somerville. The mayor of Somerville, Mayor Curtatone, has proposed that the so-called McGrath-O'Brien Highway viaduct, which is now the ugliest thing in the city after the elevated artery went down.
Put that in the brochure, Mayor.
That bridge be torn down and replaced with a boulevard, which we once had. We once had a boulevard connecting the Charles out to the Fells. And Mayor Curtatone has proposed that link as part of the Green Line improvement. Let's turn that road into a boulevard that really links these two. By the way, if that happens, there'll be less traffic coming onto Storrow Drive, so do well by doing good kind of thing.